But yeah, if you do it, man, you never know. You can get a lot more attention. Like you can build your community again. I remember you told me you got 3 followers in one stream. That I've never been able to do that. I got 1 follow today, which is really a big deal. But to get 3 followers in one day, that's tremendous, man. Yeah. Woo! Wow. This is a really good flow. I mean, in terms of preference for content, the flow is just a lot better here. But Soup, I bet you if you stream Batman, you could get a good flow going too. I'm sure you could. You know? I can tell, man, you're a really good guy. You can definitely make it happen if you wanted to. Oh wow, Nintendo Prime uploaded a new video and apparently a new PS handheld might release in the future. Nintendo Prime? A new PS handheld. What is PS? What is that? Like a Switch? Like a new Switch? I mean that was already expected, right? Like a new improved Switch or whatever. Nintendo Prime means content on rumors. PS means PlayStation. Okay, wait. A new PlayStation handheld. Oh, so a new PlayStation handheld, like something that's not like the PS Vita or the PSP, like a third handheld might come out. That would be so cool. That would be really nice. So what do you think? You think a new handheld might happen? That would be a big deal. Hmm. The only thing I'm worried about is that if PlayStation tries to go handheld, they might split the resources of their games. So instead of making like really cool, like, PlayStation games for like the PlayStation 5, they'll end up like forcing their developers to make like handheld games. And those handheld games will never be as good as like the full PS5 type titles. So I know, like, I was watching this documentary on like certain games the Resistance Fall of Man games that went into like a handheld title format, and I just feel like when you split resources, it takes away from like how good a mainline party title could be, you know? So I don't know if that's good for them to split it up like that. In my opinion. But that is pretty cool though. We'll have to wait and see if handheld comes out. I just feel like splitting resources between like PlayStation 5 and PlayStation handheld might backfire, you know? It's like too many things all at once. You know, if they overextend themselves, you know, it might not be a good time. Anyways, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Um, but that is an interesting rumor. I was looking at any kind of new rumors for like Spider-Man 2, and I heard that there's gonna be a new dialogue system. I heard theories that there might be like a Spider-Man Switch system where you can like switch between Peter and Miles. That would solve a lot of problems right there. If you can just switch between them both, that would be really good. Like that's the closest thing I can do right now is just play some Peter, play some Miles. But if you could get all of the Spider-Mans together, and you had access to a lot of replayable arenas, it would be like legit. It would make a lot of sense to me to do it that way. But one thing that this guy who was talking about these rumors was saying was that, you know, one concern is that this sequel will be just like a big DLC type of thing, and not an actual like large scale like transformation of Spider-Man. But in my opinion, if you played Ratchet and Clank and you played Ratchet and Clank 2 and Ratchet and Clank 3 and you just continue playing like the new iterations of like the games Insomniac has been making for, you know, like over 10 years now, you'll see that they excel in bringing in new mechanics, bringing in more thoughtful implementations to the gameplay loop that really make the games shine even better than their predecessors. So I'm pretty confident that Spider-Man 2 will be a very good sequel and well-received sequel to the first Spider-Man. Because that's just how Insomniac has always been doing it. It's like, you know, they come out with a really good premise, a really good game, a really good loop, and then if they're given the resources to do more, they go ahead and they run with it and they just take it to the next level. So I'm pretty confident, you know, I'm not really one to be a naysayer. Insomniac is really the only game company I played games from since I was a kid, and I still enjoy those games. I was even thinking maybe in the future, maybe I might even play Ratchet and Clank, like the OG Ratchet and Clank 2, you know, Ratchet Deadlocks. I might play those, maybe. But those games are so fun. I really enjoy them, so we'll have to see if that ever happens, but like I would play those. I would play those games for sure. Yeah, but I was looking at rumors, so we'll have to see. But yeah, a new dialogue system might be in play. And if you played, you know, the OG games, you'll notice that like uh, dialogue is like contextual. They make it so that dialogue changes depending on what you're actually like up to. So if you're meant to talk, if Peter's meant to talk and you're in free roam, Peter's meant to talk and say something, but you're running or you're web swinging, the sounds of your like the tone of voice and how you sound will vary, and it's all contextual. And those details really add a lot to the immersion of a game. That's why I really enjoy Spider-Man, because the immersion is it's one of the best features. Like immersion is just, it's on point in this game. Like you can't help but to feel really immersed. Another theory was that there could potentially be more like gadget customization and loadout customization. So I think one main thing that a lot of people like, and especially in the modding community, is the idea of building your own Spider-Man so that it's completely unique to your style, your preference. So in a way, it's like the suits that I choose to add, the mods, the combo mods that I choose to use, all of those things really make my Spider-Man a unique Spider-Man compared to like anyone else's Spider-Man. So, you know, it's one of those things where everyone plays the base vanilla Spider-Man, and then what happens is you start separating based on strategies that you implement. You know, some people play differently than others, right? And they start choosing to do different things. But overall, like each Spider-Man looks pretty similar. But now with mods, I know my Spider-Man is completely 100% unique to my style. And every time I add more mods and things get updated, like my Spider-Man becomes even more different. But that's not to say that, you know, one Spider-Man is different and does like better than another. I feel like everyone just has their own preference to how they want to play. And there really is no right answer to playing. I mean, that's the whole point in like video games and stuff, is that you play to enjoy yourself. Like there is, you know, you don't play for anything else than just to have fun. So I'm just really grateful. It's like I can just make my own Spider-Man with my own the animations I want, with the style of suits that I like, and I can pick what arenas and how I fight and who I fight and what strategies I use. And it really makes my Spider-Man just my own type of Spider-Man. And I'm really grateful for that, honestly. I'm really grateful I can like build my own Spider-Man and just play the way I want, how I want, with whatever kind of style I want. You know what I mean? So it's a really good time. All right, so I'm getting a bit of a issue glitch thing, but we'll figure it out. Figure it out. Yeah. All right. Uh-huh. Well, what else? What else? I mean, let me see. What else can I talk about? I already talked about the trailer. Um, talked about. Huh. What else? Oh. What else? What else? Oh, how about I talk to you about my video game idea? Ready? So at one point, I had an idea for a video game, right? And okay, so the video game, the core tenets, what I'd like to have as just a rule, a core rule of my game is that we're not going for aesthetics in itself, but we're going for objectives, traversal, and animations as like the core solid stuff of like what my game would be about. So I had an idea for a couple games, but one game that I was really, like dreaming up was like an open world game with like 6 or 7 biomes, right? And one of the biomes, it would be like, okay, there would be like, pretty standard stuff, and like an ocean type biome, like ocean islands, desert, forest, Sogan, like a field. Um, there would be an underground biome. You would have, like I said, traversal, and the mechanics would be like one of the ideals of like like getting around would be important. So you would have like airships, but you could also, if you didn't want an airship, you could be you can use a boat. Like you can have like you could be like a you can be a it'd be open world, but it wouldn't be like humanoid. You wouldn't play like as human. You would play like as creatures that had like based on like animal type things. So you would have like a dragon type race of like humanoids that would be able to fly. You could have like a plantoid type race. You could have like a stone skin type race. You could have like a mole rat, like a mole type underground race that could like dig. You could dig in the ground and like traverse by digging. You could also fly. Uh, you know, you could do magic. There was also a spell system. Um, it would be one of those things where it's like, okay, there's this mod called alternate lives, or like basically the idea of like for like Skyrim, where it's like there's a mod that lets you pick what kind of like where you want to start, more than just like like in Skyrim you have to just go through the same base vanilla start, right? But in the alternate lives mod, you can like pick your story kind of. So there would be a lot of freedom to pick how you want to start. And there would be like a conquest type thing where you could like only if you pick that type of like play could you like unite all of the biomes, because there would be like, because the world would have like 6 or 7 biomes, you would basically have like competing kingdoms with like different biomes. So like the underground empire would be like composed of like mole rat people, and they would be opposed to like one of the surface kingdoms, almost like like, but then it would be like multiple factions, so there wouldn't just be a one side versus one side. There would be like 3 or 4 kingdoms that are housed in 6 or 7 biomes, and then you could like work to unite all of the kingdoms. You could work to like obliterate another faction or kingdom. You could be a bounty hunter. You could be a sorcerer. You could just, there would be like, not only would there be like a dragon faction, like a dragon race of creatures, but there would be like an insectoid race of creatures based on like either wasps or butterflies. And then there would be a parrot macaw type race or faction. And their city would be based on like almost like tree like cities that are built in the trees, like in the canopies, but like a really well developed city developed in a canopy. And then you could like fly around. You could also like there would also be a lot of like enemies and like there would be like animations between interactions between enemies, NPCs, and so like even if you like, let's say you were traversing the world, you could come across like an interaction between 2 enemies, and those interactions would be like well blended so that you wouldn't really see a lot of repeatable animations, because it would come from like a database, like a collection, like a bank of animations. And so like the AI would draw from a number of animations based on what context they're going for, and it would just be like a repository of animations. So then like when you fight enemies, you could have different types of skill sets based on different types of weapons. And so there's this mod like Synergy 2.0 or something, and it's like based on like alternate poses on Skyrim. There's like a mod on Skyrim where like you could basically have it so that you could like you could switch between 5 or 6 different stances when it comes to combat. So you could have like, you could wield the weapon and you could like alternate between different stances and fighting styles at whim through changing your stance. So that would be something I'd love to see implemented in if I ever could like develop a game where I have multiple stances, multiple ways of wielding weapons, fighting weapons. The enemies themselves would have variable stances and styles, so you could be comfortable, but you would never feel entirely comfortable knowing what an enemy might be capable of doing. And I feel like that in itself would be really cool, because it would be an inherent challenge difficulty modifier. But in my game there would only be like 2 difficulties. There would be one where like your damage is scaled up and your health is scaled up, and the enemies are scaled down, and the AI would also, instead of being like inconsistent, they would be consistent. So that way you don't like, for Spider-Man there's like 5 or 6 different difficulties, right? But I feel like in order to make it so that I could just, like the game would be developed with more richness of detail and mechanics and traversal, instead of trying to work on too many difficulties, there would just be a difficulty where the AI would be consistent and slower, and then a difficulty where you would have all of the richness of like the animations, the surprises, and everything would be balanced to be more of a challenge. But I feel like if a game offers a lot, then a person will naturally find their own path. So I feel like right now the way games are made, they're intended to be played a specific way, and they're balanced to be done a specific way. But ever since I've been modding Spider-Man, I've realized that I think that philosophy is good and consistent, and it allows a game to be built a certain way. But if you want a game to truly, uh, allow for a more diverse experience, you have to give the player more control in how they engage the game. So, like, the idea of like allowing it so it's more of a sandbox where you give all the tools of a game that can be played a certain way, or you can leave it open-ended. But that it would contain, it would house, it would be like a sandbox, but but a sandbox that comes pre-built with a sandcastle that you can modify. It comes with tools that you can play with, or you can just play with the sand. But having the choice, I feel like, is a really cool thing. But I've always thought about that. I've always thought about like making a video game that's that allows you to like traverse, and just like if you wanted to, you could just fly around and just like see the world, or you can like sail, or you can like engage with like missions that are compelling but like consistently repeatable. So like, you know how Skyrim has like, like after you beat like the Dark Brotherhood faction and stuff, you can like continue or the Thieves Guild, like you can continue getting like missions like to steal stuff from people, or like assassinate people or whatever. Like it would be like something like that where it's radiant quests, you know, but the radiant quests would be developed in a way where the mechanics itself, the gameplay loop is so versatile that the radiant quests themselves wouldn't be necessarily the thing that gives you fun or purpose, but it would be like the open-endedness of your choice of how you want to play the game, like a true like a true open-ended RPG game, but it has all of the smooth and polish of like a well-made adventure platformer third-person type game, you know. And to be quite honest, I feel like I would rather a game have a whole bunch of really cool animations and be third person than to be first person. I feel like it takes way more work to be third person than third person. But, if I were to, ever have the ability to make a game, I would ensure third person was viable first, and then I'd go for like a first person thing. Because in my opinion, it's just a lot better to just have a third person mechanic imposed on the game, so that you can just really appreciate all the animations, you know. But yeah, so I thought of a game like that, and then there's another idea for a game, and it's based off of the Yu-Gi-Oh game Duelist of the Roses. And in Duelist of the Roses, it's like it's based on like a card game, right? But it's like a card game where it's almost like a mixture of cards and Hexagon. And Hexagon is like this game of like controlling territory through the use of like warping your enemy's pieces, and or the enemy warping your pieces, so that whoever has the most spots on the board and controls the most spots is the winner. It would be kind of where like it's a map based on hexagon, like hexagonal shape and hexagonal movement, but it has key components of being able to summon like monsters that you then control, and then you try to fight the opposing side. And it's based on, based on a lot of the same premises of like, like summoning monsters, having like a field of, like monsters that you can then guide to be able to take out the opposing, faction or whatever. And then it would just be like a more polished, more mechanically fluid and rich version of what Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses offered. Because I've never played another game like that. Like it was almost like you could almost play it like a tabletop game, But I've never played a game with any mechanics anywhere near to that game ever since I was a kid. So I would totally go in for making something like that as well. And then what else? Oh, obviously, like I like the idea of like jetpacks, and when the Mandalorian came out, or like when it was like first coming out and stuff, the idea of like a bounty hunter, Boba Fett type, Jango Fett type person who could like, use a whole bunch of like weapons, not just to maim and kill, but to like capture. Like you could have like electric nets, like arc casters that trap your opponents. You can use a bolus to like catch your opponent like running away, and you can catch them and stop them. You can like use darts to cause them to fall asleep. Like basically, like a lot of games make it so that they give you a gun, and then you just shoot at the person, and then you kill them, and that's it, right? You apply a damage thing, and then you apply enough damage, and then that AI just kind of falls, right? But it would be amazing if you could have like, if you were expected to not just be able to kill something, but to bring it in and capture it alive. So you would use a whole bunch of tools that would, allow you to capture things in a pacifist type way. So like the goal would be to like use a jetpack, get around, and then like be able to like send out like electric arc nets, and just like just try to take down your opponent without necessarily killing them. Where it would be like a pacifist run, but there would be so many tools, and you would have to really strategize because your targets would have immunities to certain types of your weapons and gadgets, and so you would have to really strategize and think how to take them out. Because to be honest, I like chess. I like the game chess, and I feel like the way chess works is that you're trying to use your set of pieces that all have their own fundamental traversal mechanics and strategize a way to take out your opponent without sacrificing your pieces. You want as many of your people on the board at the end as possible. That's how you win. But yeah, like I always thought like it would, like a good game would be something where it's like an action game, but the strategies would make you think a lot more as to how to best do something. Like punching in a certain way wouldn't be like a winning strategy all the time. You know what I mean? Where like you would have to use environment, you would have to use gadgets, you would have to find windows of opportunity. And by using all of those things together, you would then be able to overcome your opponents and catch them. And like, catch them alive and then send them in for a bounty or whatever, Which is really cool. I always thought like that was a cool premise. So yeah, so I thought about a game like that. I also like thought about like games that had more of an educational reach to it, so like you could like learn about like how to perform surgeries through games. So like you would have a game that was more realistically inclined to like offer like human anatomy. So then you could actually learn how to like perform surgeries and stuff, you know? So then like you could learn how to be a like perform surgery, but you wouldn't have to like go and like go to school for it. You could just like play the game, and the game would be as realistic as possible, and it would show you all the fundamental core components, and it would have all of the knowledge databases that you need to learn about how to conduct surgery properly and successfully without having to pay anyone for that knowledge, you know? Yeah, that would be cool too. I'll be back then. Alright, so yeah, I've had a few ideas for like video games. Yeah. That'd be amazing. Alright. If there's someone else, let's try to take him out first. I think that guy has to be taken out last. Hmm. Come on. No. Okay, wait. All right, we'll restart. Alrighty then. Yeah. So I had made like a full like write up of like how the like what kind of like stories like my game would have, what kind of like potential like enemies, like each biome would have their own set of enemies that are unique to that biome. And yeah, I had like a whole bunch of like ideas for like how to really like like create like a really cool video game. This person that I watch, they were talking about like creation, and they actually have experience as an animator creating games, right? And they said that in the future, what's gonna happen is AI, artificial intelligence, and softwares will be able to expedite the whole creation process by enabling people to more easily be able to um, get all of the aspects of their games created so that you could experience like their vision without like the need for like 10 years or like 7 or 8 years of like putting a game together. So it's it's definitely like hopeful, if like more people could just like one man teams could just like make their own video games. you know but in a way, it's also a little bit of like an upsetting thing for people who have basically spent their whole lives honing a craft, and then they are like that craft is basically a redundant thing that AI can replace. It's like for me personally, because I'm a cashier, or at least that was the last job I had. Not too long ago, a few months ago, I was a cashier, and even my boss, the guy who told me that like I do a really good job, and that personally sometimes when he feels bad, he just takes it on the customers, but he's really impressed that I don't ever do that, and that I just keep it professional 100%. Well, that guy told me that in a couple years, uh, they'll have like kiosks that will replace cashiers at like stores. And well, I mean, to be quite honest, it's like if I was a horse-drawn carriage driver and I made a living by, you know, taking people to, like basically as a taxi driver, but I used horses, and then taxi cabs were gonna make my job redundant, and I was no longer I was no longer expected to be able to make or earn a living off of that. Should I be upset by that? And to be quite honest, it's just one of those things where, at the end of the day, I mean, no one's guaranteed to be able to earn a living doing a particular thing, right, in their life. So it's just a sad state of like progress, I guess. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second. I just felt like I had something, and all right. Stop it. Anyways, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so I feel like, at the end of the day, whether AI take over a lot of the creative aspects of people's work, it's not something that I'm gonna be like scared about and be like, oh man, I'm screwed here. It's like, well, unfortunately, it's just how it is. You know, like like it's just progress, and unfortunately, like, if AI start, making certain things redundant, there's not really much else. There's not really much that can be done, you know? Like, progress is just how it is, and people might get upset at first, but over time, unfortunately, like, people, yeah, they lost their way of earning money, and cars replaced horses as like main modes of transportation. But at the end of the day, like, I don't hear anyone saying that we should all go back to horse-drawn carriages. I don't hear anyone advocating that the abolition of automobiles, you know? Like, I don't hear that. So in a way, it's like, yeah, if cashiering becomes a redundant thing and then no one needs a cashier anymore. I do have a 4-year degree, but my 4-year degree basically just says I can like pick up on things, and that doesn't mean I'm not replaceable by an AI, you know? Like, I don't do anything that an AI couldn't do, you know? So, like, I could just be like, oh man, I'll never be able to get an entry level job again. Or I can be like, you know what? It's all good. If more people get to live happier, healthier lives, then I'm not opposed to technology, you know, uh, shaking up like the status quo, you know? Like, it's like someone being angry that, family members can like stay alive after surgery. It's like, oh, 100 years ago, certain things would have spelled death for people, but now through technology and advancement, now more people can be alive, and we can save more people through surgery and through technologies. So if that means that it's gonna cost some people their livelihoods doing that thing, I'm sure there will be other things that they will be able to do, you know? It's just, I don't know. But like I said, it's easy for me to say that because I don't have all my eggs in one basket. In fact, at this point, I don't have a career. I don't have a livelihood that I depend on, and I'm basically looking at becoming a homeless beach bum anyway. So does it matter to me? No, but I'm talking from a place where it never mattered. No matter what, it was never gonna matter to me anyway. So I understand, like, some people saying, well, no, I don't want to be replaced by an AI, you know? But I get it, and I get their, I can totally get their fear. I empathize. I can't sympathize because I'm not in that place, but I do empathize. I can definitely understand that, yeah, if you have like a family, if you have kids who are depending on you, and an AI went ahead and replaced your job, and your corporation didn't give you much of a heads up, you know, like, you have to work for them for like 14 days for free, and then they'll pay, maybe, if they don't go bankrupt. They'll pay. And then if an AI came out and they were like, oh yeah, it's gonna be way cheaper hiring this robot than to keep hiring this guy to do it, and they'll just call you, they'll send you an email and say, hey, you're fired, you've been replaced. And then now you got hungry kids that are looking at you like that. What are we gonna do? Like, why can't we stay in our house? What's going on? And so I understand there might be quite a few people that tried having faith in the world, and the world went ahead and just you know you know kind of ruined them. And now there's gonna be a whole bunch of destitute children and people seeking charity and stuff. And so I get that fear, and I hope for the best. I don't really know what to say, because saying that, like, you'd rather that job never be replaced by AI when it could be, for the sake of someone being able to like do that job, is kind of silly, I think. It's kind of silly. You know? In my opinion, I think it's kind of silly. So yeah, so I'm not really sure what's gonna happen, but at this point, I'm already just ready to just abdicate. I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I don't really have any faith in a corporation to want to treat me well and keep me on board, even if I was 100% professional and I did my job. If it could save them a buck to fire me and they saved a buck and they could pass that dollar on to their shareholders, you know, like the 5 people who own like 80% of the stock, then let them have the buck. At this point, I don't have any faith that they wouldn't do that anyway. You feel me? I already assumed the worst of every corporation out there anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised. You know? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm like, okay, well, you're doing exactly what I thought you would do anyway. I'm gonna go micless for a sec, guys. Give me 1 second. Hello? Are we here, guys? We back? I'm gonna play for the rest of this round, and then I'm gonna check, make sure the mic is back. But yeah, sorry about that. I was making a quick phone call, you know, family and stuff, just seeing how they're doing, and yeah. But like I was saying, guys, with the whole AI replacement thing, I know there's that idea of like, oh, well, that won't happen for a long time, and I mean, yeah, I guess, you know, it's kind of like that same idea of like, you know, because bad things haven't happened to me, I should live my life as if they can never happen to me because, you know, it hasn't happened to me yet, right? So like someone was telling me, oh yeah, like, you know, AI won't really replace jobs for a long time, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess if that's how that works. I mean, to be quite honest, like I said, it's not like, you know, we were fighting against aliens when people were striking to get Saturday and Sunday as like weekends for like being able to not have to work all the time. It wasn't like we were fighting an alien invasion. We were just fighting people who owned those companies and who said, I'd rather just have an army of slave robots in the form of humans that would do this work so that I can make tons of money and take my family and loved ones out on vacation, or I could just have the money and pay for whatever I want. You know, whether it's like people to just, you know, keep me company for a certain amount of time, or whether it's to just like, you know, buy the company and time of people they want to hang out with. It really doesn't matter. All I know is that people fought and died and striked to be able to have it so that children didn't have to work in coal mines. And in my understanding of humanity, when people say, "Oh, AI won't replace your jobs for a long time," I'm like, well, it's only not something that it's something that, yeah, might take a while because it just isn't feasible for the people who owned all the resources to do yet. But as soon, the moment it does become feasible, they're gonna go ahead and do it. I mean, in the same way that you know, when the workers of companies would come together and just ask the boss and say, "Hey, we don't want to work 12-hour days, 7 days a week anymore. We want like Saturday and Sunday off." The boss didn't say, "You know what? You drive a hard bargain. I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah, we're gonna honor Saturday and Sunday as a weekend where no one's expected to work." And then everyone held hands and we all praised God, and it was a love kumbaya fest. It wasn't like that, unfortunately. I wish I could say, yeah, it was like that, but it wasn't. What ended up happening was that there was a lot of violence. A lot of violence. Even the police, the law enforcement, and remember, in my opinion, the law enforcement of the time of Jesus were the ones responsible for propping up the cross and nailing Jesus to it. It wasn't random strangers on the street. It was the law enforcement of Jesus's time, in the same way that the police are the law enforcement of our time. So if someone told a law enforcement officer to go ahead and nail this person to the cross, that's what they would do. And even in today's day and age, it's just how it is. So anyways, I'm very skeptical that it's just going to be a very nice, easy transition. Unfortunately, human history has a lot of violence to it, and I really wish it wasn't like that. But I find it pretty skeptical that businesses wouldn't just replace everyone they could with robots and then get 100% of the profits themselves, have no employees, no workers, and then when they go out on vacation, they still expect other people to employ people or to like what exactly do these wealthy people think is going to happen anyway when they start replacing everyone with robots and AI? When they go on, if they like to travel and go on vacation, they're not going to see anybody. No one's actually going to be there because everyone would have been replaced, right? Servers would be replaced, and so you would see like almost no humans around because all the humans that don't own anything would be starving in the forest. They'd be starving on the streets. So I don't really know what these people are thinking because they're the first to write themselves a bonus check, but they're the last to actually uh not they're the last to want to serve, to be quite honest, right? Like I mean literally the undercover boss episodes, like there was a show, I don't know if they still run, and I never really saw a full episode, but the premise is that the people who are supposedly like the executives that supposedly know how to do these jobs are so disconnected from these jobs that if you ask them to go back to the entry level position, they couldn't do it. They would feel like it was below them. You know what I mean? Like they were spoiled by their position. And so they couldn't even generate the wealth that they basically drained for themselves. Those golden parachutes and stuff that other people have had to work for to provide them with that, they couldn't do it for anyone else. And so I just have to think, well, you know, I mean, yeah, the explanation right now that helps people sleep is that, oh, it's not gonna happen for a long time. Well, I mean, who's that up to? Because I'm pretty sure that if people could replace workers with AI bots today, they would do it today. So having to, taking some comfort in the fact that, oh yeah, that won't happen for a long time doesn't really solve the problem, does it? It just says, oh yeah, just kick the can down the road. It'll be okay. But I don't know. Like I said, it's unfortunately, or I guess fortunately for me, I don't have to worry about that stuff. I don't have anyone counting on me. No one's counting on me to provide them with resources or do something for them. No one's counting on me to do anything for anybody. And to be quite honest, I guess I'm very lucky in that regard. You know, like I can't bring myself to do anything with my life because unfortunately I just don't have any faith that I can like be adequate and protect the people that I want to protect. So, but like I say, guys, when it comes down to these issues, I just seek out Jesus Christ. I pray, and I say, hey, regardless of what happens, it's not forever. We do age out. We do get to be 100, and then our bodies fail us, and we die. So there is hope. There is an end. There is finality. It's not like we have to endure this forever. You know what I mean? We'll be okay. We just live our lives to the best that we can, and then we get to age out gracefully, or I guess not gracefully, because sometimes people. I mean, I worked in the hospital, so a lot of people have a lot of health conditions, so they don't really have much. They don't gracefully go. Sometimes it's not very pretty how they age out, but regardless, just having faith is really what carries me. And so if you're worried about anything, just have faith. Have faith, and when you put faith into Jesus Christ, I don't know, for me it helps. It helps to just bring me back down to like reality of, you know what? right now my life is perfectly fine. I have no complaints, and I have no room to complain about anything, to be quite honest. So, you know. But yeah. I guess the only reason I have any worries is because, I'm feeling for the people who are gonna be displaced, right? But I feel like if it's done gradually, it's like turning up the water in a boiling pot while having a frog in it. If you just gradually do it, the frog, and you give the frog ample time to jump out, it will stay warm, and then as soon as it gets uncomfortably hot, it will go ahead and just jump out when it feels like it's no longer able to endure that. And then, it can just safely just go away and find something else. So, you know, that's at least the silver lining. But like I said, the only reason I feel like we have it so good now is because people had to fight and die for the privilege that we have today. So that's why I don't take it for granted. I use up all of my free time enjoying myself and relaxing and appreciating the sacrifice that other people made. You know? Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to have, a good life. If other people didn't fight and have to endure violence. You know? So at the end of the day, I mean, it's just one of those things why I can't really trust anybody, because I feel like if they were put in a position of power, they're just they're gonna be the same company CEO bosses that will call up the police to help break up a strike. You know, it's just like, okay, I guess everyone has the capacity to be good or bad, and I feel like the choices you make show where you fall in that. So for me, I'm not a good guy, but I'm trying to be a better guy than yesterday. I'm just trying to be a better person than yesterday. I don't think I'm a good guy, but I'm trying to be a better than I was the day before. And so with that as my guiding principle, with Jesus, as my God who I worship and I praise, I feel like, little by little, I just do what I can and just find the right way to be, and so I don't care about I don't care about serving corporation and making money. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. I really can't be bothered to care about anything, you know? And because I don't care about anything, I can just focus on having faith in God and just doing the best that I can. Just live well, and honestly, I know for sure, look, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do or accomplish in this life, but I know one thing that I know for sure I'm supposed to do is be a good son, be a good family member, be a good son to my parents. And so I know for sure that that's one role that I've been given at birth, And that's one thing that I really try to just commit to. So I don't know if I'm supposed to be a good husband, a good dad, a good this or that, but I know for sure I was given a good set of parents, and even though my parents aren't together anymore, I still love them both. And so I look out for both of them. And so I don't know what my life is gonna be in the future, but at least I know that, I'm doing what I can based on what I've been given. So I can't really complain because it's like, regardless of where I find myself, God will always be there. And so, I mean, I'm thinking, okay, I might end up on the beach, right? And I'm like, okay, I might end up on the beach as a homeless beach bum, and I just gotta spend half of my day on the beach, and then the other half I spend it in the shelter, right? But to be quite honest, like, that won't be bad. I'll be able to witness the ocean. I might be able to see animals and witness wildlife. I might be able to just, I'll have all the time in the world to myself. I won't be bothered by anybody, and everything will be okay. If I just breathe and relax and just have faith in Jesus. So it really won't be that bad. If I just put on like protective stuff for the sun, I won't even get sunburned. You know, if I administer sunscreen, I won't even get sunburned. When I can't afford sunscreen, I'll just I'll use the sand, and I'll build like mounds and pits, and I'll dig a spot where I don't get burnt by the sun. You feel me? And so, like, I can learn these things over time and just adapt. And I won't have to put my faith in anyone or anything besides Jesus Christ. And I can just live on the beach as a homeless beach bum. And then during the evenings, I go ahead and just get to a shelter because I can't live on the beach. So I just go to a shelter that society provides the rules for. And then I just live that way until I can just kind of age out of living, and then I can just peacefully go as an old man, you know? But I'm already starting to make peace with that idea of like, you know what? I just have to be a homeless beach bum because my mind won't give me the peace and comfort of trying to adopt a faithful, cooperative, positive stance for working at a corporation or having faith and trusting someone. Then fine, so be it. But I'm gonna do the best I can and just make the best of what I got. So I'm not worried about it. You know? I'm just gonna have faith. Honestly, that's all I can do. You know? But it will be okay. I think in time, like, I'll look back on this and I'll be like fondly remembering how, hey, I was really taking advantage of having my own apartment for like the first time in over 10 years. I was like, man, I hung out at my apartment all the time. I enjoyed all the amenities of having a shelter. And, I showered multiple times a day and really took advantage of all of the good fortune that this year has provided me with. And then, and I'll reminisce about all the good stuff that I had this year. And then I'll look fondly as I'm out there on the beach. I'll look fondly at the ocean and I'll be like, yeah, I know how to be happy. I know how to I know how to keep my mind just at ease all the time, regardless. I can definitely stay straight on this, you know? And then in the future I'll look back and I'll be like, man, as a homeless beach bum and, living the way I live, staying out of trouble, keeping up with my hygiene, just trying to stay out of trouble. I know I lived very well there too, like I just did the very best that I could. And I'll look fondly on my life and say, never once did I stress over someone else's uh greed. Never was I, never did I have to be forced to do something I didn't want to do to be able to generate money, So, and honestly, that will make me a lot happier than to look back and say, hey, you know what, I was too dumb. I let myself get too vulnerable. I tried doing things I shouldn't have done, like tried to have faith in a corporation to, provide me with a career and a livelihood. And, oops, woe's me. I ended up messing up because I put faith in other people instead of Jesus. And then guess what? I ended up trying to get a family, and then I ended up not being able to make resources happen to protect them and care for them. And then my relationship falls apart. My kids, they struggled their entire lives, and I couldn't do anything for them. So as opposed to going down that path, I'm just gonna go down a good, better path of peace and calm and faith, as opposed to all the other negative stuff. You know, like, to be quite honest, I've never had an experience where there was a boss who like forced me to do things I didn't want to do. Where like they forced me to stay extra hours, and I was begrudgingly having to do them. Like, like there are plenty of movies where it's like horrible bosses, right? Where it's just bosses that put me in such a bad situation, a bad place in my life, and I have to put up with it or I can be homeless. I'm like, you know what? I'll never have to worry about that, will I? Because I'd rather be homeless than to have negative thoughts about someone else. I never work for a bad boss and have them be a negative memory in my mind. I'd rather just be homeless and just have faith and hope that everyone out there is doing good for themselves. Like, I'll never have to know about any of the bad stuff. I remember I was working at the movie theater, and at one point I was like the compliance guy. So basically I would like make rounds in all of the movie theaters, and I would make sure that no one had a phone on or a tablet on or anything like that. And I remember one time the Spider-Man, like the first Spider-Man movie in 2017, Far From Home, Homecoming. I remember like there was a part where Spider-Man was just about to, square off with the Vulture or whatever, right? And I was a compliance guy, and I was in the theater, and I just made the rounds, and then I was just staying off to the side, and I was just enjoying the movie, right? And I was just watching a scene or two. And then literally a minute in, literally, I get a call on my walkie-talkie by the manager asking me where I was, right? Like trying to hurry me along, saying, hey, where are you, blah, 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 this and that. And you know what? That guy who was so busy trying to make sure I was working, that manager got fired because he was caught making out with one of the female employees, an usher, in one of the inventory closets, in one of the inventory rooms. And that guy had the gall to call me as if I was not working, when he was the one who got fired for sexual harassment, because he was forcing this woman to make out with him in the closet. But But no, no, no. I couldn't just walk around in a movie theater and just watch one scene of Spider-Man while I was on the clock. But this guy could make out with anyone he wanted, sexually harass anyone he wanted, and he got away with it for like a year and a half. And I had no idea. And that's the thing, guys. I was so busy actually working. I had no idea any of this was going on until like he got fired and someone explained it to me why he got fired. Someone had to explain it to me why he got fired. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known why he disappeared. He just disappeared one day. For me, I thought he just quit. But he got fired because he was sexually harassing the other employees. And this guy was the guy who was always like stickler on me. He was always pushing me to like clean, like he would literally tell me, like as I was cleaning these theaters. I remember this wasn't just a regular theater. This was a theater that had a restaurant in it, and you could take pizzas and burgers, cheeseburgers. You could take whole plates of like uh chili inside the movie theater and eat it inside the movie theater. Okay? You could take all these things and eat it inside the movie theater, guys. Like they had made special trays that you could hang it on the side of the chairs, and you could literally recline your seat, have a tray right in front of you, and eat it, and eat a whole meal in the movie theater. Who cleaned that theater? I did. This manager would be and he was the most terrible guy. He would literally be like telling me to speed it up, clean faster, do this and that, when he knows these theaters were full of people's half-eaten food that they... Till one of these employees told on him, reported him, and he got fired. So I'm gonna tell you right now, I have no faith in a manager. I have no faith in a boss. I don't trust bosses. Okay, in my experience, bosses, they end up sexually harassing their employees. They end up splitting families apart. Okay, my dad and my mom are a perfect example of why I'll never trust a boss. And if I have a woman, if I can't provide for her to not have to work, I'd rather just be alone the rest of my life. Because the well has been poisoned for me. I can't trust anybody. I literally have been witness to all of these terrible things of people. So I'm never going to trust a boss. A boss tells me, hey, pick it up. Is that I'll be working, and they'll be like, hey, Salsa, you're working too slow. I'll be like, you know what? I'm out. And guess what? Instead of even having a bad interaction where a boss tells me something and then I quit right in front of them and I'm rude, I don't even want to do that. I'd rather just be homeless and not ever have to be that mean and quit right on the spot. I'd rather not even do that to a boss or a manager. I'd rather just not even have that bad interaction in the first place. You feel me? I'd rather not even have that bad interaction. I'd rather just be a homeless beach bum in the beginning of the whole thing than pretend and then just put up with it, you know? Because I have nothing bad to say about anyone in my personal experience. All I can say is that I don't trust anyone, and I've been very lucky that I don't trust anyone. I'm very lucky. Cutting out, huh? Alright. See. Guys, I want to continue that point. I don't know why my internet cut out there, but... Anyways, so what I was saying is that in a way, like, I'm glad when I was in the movie theater, I didn't talk to anyone like that. I wasn't dating anyone. I wasn't flirting with anybody. No one. And I'm glad, because if I had known that I was talking to someone, and I was, interested in them, and they were talking to me, and we were like getting along, and she was being sexually harassed by this manager, I would be very, very agitated by that. I'd be incredibly frustrated. You know, I'd be incredibly frustrated. You know, and they needed people like me to work because I was actually working, guys. And that's the truth. I was actually one of the only people that was working, besides Jesus, who was also working, and he was a very, very hard worker himself. Besides him and me, and to a point, it was like terrible because, like I said, when you're one of the good employees, and to be quite honest, I consider myself a very hard worker, and I put in all of the effort I need to make sure I do the job well. When other people see that, they take advantage. It's just human nature. When they see that you're a hard worker, they're like, okay, I'm going to take advantage. He's a hard worker, fine. I'm going to make him do my work. And I'm not going to have any problems with it. And if he has a problem, he can quit. And so I've already gone to that point, guys. That's why I can't even take it seriously no more. To be quite honest, I cannot take it seriously. Like, I just don't have any faith whatsoever in this system anymore. I've been so thoroughly burnt out on it. I really can't be bothered to even pretend to care about its continued survival. You know what I mean? I'm not a good person. I'm really not a good person, guys. I do exactly what Peter does. If my girlfriend was falling off a bridge, I would go to save her first, and then I would try to save the cart full of children. Alright? So if that makes me a bad person, I'm telling you right now, then yeah, I'm a bad person. Because I would never hesitate. 0% chance I'd do it the other way around. I'm not a good